Hey guys, and welcome to this Tutorial Thursday. Today I'm going to be talking about 4 critical steps to prepare for the upcoming software recruitment season. If you're trying to get an internship for the summer or a job for the winter or fall, this recruitment season is for you. A lot of the things I'm going to be saying in this video, there's going to be a ton of links and a ton of different resources I'm going to be throwing out there. Don't worry if you don't get it all through the video. In the description I have the links to every single website that I mentioned and every single resource. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Step number 1 is doing your research. What you're going to want to do is find a bunch of different places where job postings are going to be listed. And believe me when I say there's going to be a lot of different places. Some of my favorite sites include intern.supply, hired.ca, Indeed, Workopolis, Glassdoor, and of course, theforge.ca. These places are going to be critical because this is where recruiters are going to post most of their jobs unless they're top companies that have their jobs listed only on their own specific websites. It's also worthwhile to find different events that will be happening in your area. Stuff like maybe upcoming hackathons. Looking at the list of sponsors for upcoming hackathons are a great way to sort of tailor yourself to get a job with that specific company. And also different conferences like the Grace Hopper Conference, which is happening actually in September. So you guys should go and check those out. Step number 2, build up an amazing portfolio. Now, an amazing portfolio consists of a lot of different parts. It consists of your resume, it consists of your GitHub account, your LinkedIn profile. There are a lot of things that goes into what makes a great portfolio, and there are a lot of things a recruiter will look for. If you are someone with no work experience and no amazing projects on your resume, I would recommend taking the last 6 or so weeks of summer and really thinking about a kick-ass project that you could do that relates to the type of engineering you want to go into, whether it's front-end, back-end, data science, whatever, and take the next 6 weeks to really devote everything you have into making one of the best projects you've ever seen. One really good project is worth a lot more than 5 school-related projects, so I highly recommend using the last 6 weeks to make the best possible thing you can, or maybe contributing to an open source project. Here are some quick resume do's and don'ts. Do list your competitive programming experiences. Recruiters understand that your competitive programming background is pretty much a pretty good indicator on how well you perform on the job. So if you've participated in local competitions or you've participated in maybe your competitive programming club at your local university, make sure that type of stuff is on your resume. Do mention any leadership experience you've had in the past, even though it might not be completely related. A lot of recruiters see leadership experience as an indicator that you're really excited about what you do and you're proud of the place you work at and you're enthusiastic in the workplace. It can be the difference between someone who sits there and writes code all day without interacting with people and someone who gets stuff done and is a go-getter and really puts themselves out of their comfort zone to make real changes in the workplace. Do honestly mention projects that you're proud of. If you've done something in the past that you're extremely proud of, something that is very hard or difficult and you face a lot of challenges on the way, mention that on your resume. When recruiters bring it up in the interview, it'll be a great opportunity to showcase your problem-solving skills and how you don't back down from a challenge and you see failure as only temporary. Don't embellish anything on your resume. If a recruiter asks you about something during the interview that you put on your resume and you don't answer with the same level of confidence that you had on your resume, it's going to be a pretty big indicator that you might not be fully, number 1, secure in your programming abilities, and number 2, completely honest. Now, honesty and confidence are 2 things that recruiters really look for in applicants, so make sure you don't embellish any small little details because you will be asked about it. I had one of my friends put that he was proficient in Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and Microsoft Excel on his resume, and he literally got asked about it in a tech interview. And because he had no idea about how to do macros or anything like that in Excel, he got called out for it. So if you're going to say you're proficient at a skill, make sure you actually know what you're doing. Don't have any formatting issues or inconsistencies on your resume. I remember one time I submitted my resume to Twitter and Snapchat, and it was only a month later when I got the rejection letters, I realized I spelt my name wrong. Now, this seems like a pretty silly thing, you know, how could someone spell their name wrong? It probably won't happen to you, but there are also smaller forms of this which can be just as impactful. For example, if in one paragraph you use bullet points and you put punctuation at the end of it, you put a period at the end of it, but but in another paragraph you don't. All of these things are small details which may not seem that significant, but to a recruiter it shows your ability to pay attention to small details, and it really shows how much work you're willing to put in. Whether you're someone who, maybe puts half measures into what they do versus someone who makes sure everything they do is completely on point and there's no room for error when they do things. Step number 3, applying. Now, it might seem like applying is pretty straightforward, but I want to show you 2 different methodologies that you can use to your advantage. Number 1 is called the shotgun approach. Now, this approach is pretty much where you apply to 20 plus jobs a day online with a single version of your resume without reading any job requirements, and you pretty much use the websites that we talked about before. Now, the reason this works is because when you apply through these mass platforms like Indeed or anything online, you get bulked in with 500 other applicants. And recruiters, when they're sifting through all these applicants, they're not going to take a hard look at every single one of them. In fact, most of the times, they're just going to go through the 100 latest resumes they've gotten, chose a couple of them to interview, and proceeded with the interview process just like that. At most, you probably have a 10% chance of getting a call back from any company when you apply online through these mass platforms, and this approach takes advantage of that. If you're applying to 20 plus jobs a single day, and you do this every single day for, an entire month, you're going to have applied to over 400 companies, and if you have a 10% chance of getting a call back, that's a lot of different callbacks you're going to get, at least 40 of them if you've applied to 400 jobs. The shotgun approach is a high volume, low success rate approach. The second approach is called the slow and steady approach, and it is low volume but high success. This is for all the people that are going out and meeting recruiters off LinkedIn, for people that have referrals into specific companies, and the way you do this is you completely tailor your resume and your cover letter to the job that you're applying for. The reason is, when you get your resume sent in through a referral, or if you submit your resume specifically to a recruiter, all of a sudden you're not competing with 500 other people that applied on Indeed with. You're competing with other people that have already gone to this secondary pool of applicants, and this is where the strength of your resume truly shines. If you are really dead set about getting a job next summer, I highly recommend that you put both of these approaches in action. I've seen people that have applied to the same company through 3 different means and have gotten 3 different interviews with the same company. Don't let any fear of rejection or fear of losing out on opportunity stop you from putting these 2 methods into play. Step number 4, and in my opinion the most important step, is making sure that you absolutely kill the interview. This means brushing up on your competitive programming, making sure that you're up to date with interview questions, cracking the coding interview, and making sure that you've gone through all the questions, looking on Glassdoor to see what questions a company is accustomed to asking. The interview is where everything happens. Your portfolio, your resume, your project, your experience, the school you've been to, all of that just gets your foot in the door, but at the end of the day, the thing that gets you the job is your ability as a programmer. If I had to suggest a time split between preparing to apply for an interview, so steps 1 to 3 and step 4, which is actually prepping for the interview, I would say prepping for the interview should take 70% of your time. I've done a lot of videos in the past showing how you can prepare, how you can get involved with competitive programming, how you can start, so I'm going to link to all of those in the description, and I highly recommend, if you haven't already, get started with competitive programming and making sure that no matter which interview you get, you are confident enough to absolutely blow it out of the waters and make sure you get that job. I hope those 4 steps were helpful, and if you want to see more content like this, more content that shows you what recruiters are looking for, how to get a job with no experience, how you can prepare for interviews, and how you can tweak your resume, make sure that you sign up at theforge.ca, where we release content like this every single week. We have interviews with current engineers, with recruiters, we have specific job opportunities on our platform, and best of all, it is completely free to join. So www.theforge.ca, sign up, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.